on the other side of it, they can watch a video and have an opportunity to book an appointment in your calendar when they hit the other side of the landing page. They think that's a pretty cool idea, right? And to have that. And so that's what it's about. And so that's really the sum of day one, is we really dug deep into the psychology. And then I gave you some numbers on what it took to be successful, to actually make sure you have KPIs. And if you didn't write that down yesterday or the day before, I'm hoping you caught that. If you don't know what good performance is, how are you going to ever reach good? If you don't know what great performance is, how are you ever going to reach great?
You don't.
You don't, right? And so a lot of the things we do, we don't even know what to expect for performance, what the industry standard is. So I made a commitment, and I want you to make a commitment to yourself, as whether you're a broker, team leader, or a solo entrepreneur. Make a commitment to never take action on something unless you know the industry standard and what you should be working towards. KPIs is key performance indicators. So to know what the standard is. So I think it's important to know what a good performing appointment booking funnel looks like. Would you guys agree? Because I don't know what standard I need to work towards. So rule of thumb with advertising, does anybody know what rule of thumb for any sort of lead generation you should try to get back from an ROI? Does anybody have an idea on the course and what time frame you should be measuring underneath? So let's have some open dialogue on that, and then we'll bring that back to lead generation funnels and appointment booking funnels. Does anybody know what for every dollar you put out over the course of, let's say, 12 to 14 months, what you should be getting back for that dollar you put out?
Didn't you say it was like 1,000 to 1, 1,000 to 1? So something like if you put out $10,000, you want to get, $1,000, you want to get back 10,000.
Yeah, 10 times is the optimal. Now that doesn't mean that I settle there, right? And doesn't mean it's a failure if I hit lower than that. But that's my standard that I work towards. I'm sure sometimes if it makes sense and I'm working up towards it, 5 to 1 is acceptable, right? As long as I'm keep working towards it. So does anybody have any questions about that ratio?
I think anytime you're doing like 3 or 4x on your investment, I think that's a pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, it is, especially if it's year one or like the first part of it. There's nothing wrong with 3 to 5 times as long as that's really the number.
Right, if that's the real number. And then, but as you said, you're going back and you're in your business, or you're like, this is your baby. You're like, I'm not throwing out, thousands of dollars and making sure there's no way to that you're not like, if you're not tracking it, you don't know where your money's going. You're like, I want to make sure, and I'm guilty of that. I've thrown away thousands of dollars. I'm sure we're all guilty of that. Yeah. Because nobody teaches this stuff, Isaiah. Your broker's not giving you this stuff. Yeah, any of this stuff, this is all self-learned information. And if you're not paying attention, it's like, that's why so many people, it's such a low barrier to entry, but it's like the hardest business to sustain. Yeah, definitely. I agree. And that's why I'm very passionate about our program, is because we're not taught how to be entrepreneurs and CEOs. Most of us had to figure out the hard way, right? So these are the kind of general rule of thumb that I follow when I'm doing a funnel or doing a lead generation program. So if I put out $1,000 a month, I'm going to plan on, this is another mistake people make too, just as a recap, okay, from day one. Another mistake is people don't factor in the money it's going to cost to follow up with a lead. Who agrees and understands it costs time, money, and energy to follow up with a lead? And you got to factor that in. So what people will do is they'll spend all their money on the lead generation, and they're not spending any money on the lead follow-up. So that's why you see how I broke this down. So that's a little bit of a pro tip. Isaiah, can I ask you something? Sorry, I'm just jumping in here. So what do you recommend as a follow-up system? Obviously, you have your own system, proprietary software, REN360. Obviously you're EXP agent, so you've got your other CRM, KV Core, whatever. Is there something that you recommend as far as following up
I've got HubSpot and stuff, but I mean, I do have a CRM, but what do you recommend? Is there something that, I mean, obviously you're going to say your product, I'm sure.
Well, I'll tell you how to what you need in a product. Let me say that way. What you need in a product. The different elements. Is this okay if we dive into this? This is a little bit off track, but I think this is an important question to answer. Can I get some confirmation in the chat if we dive into this? Okay. So the first thing is that it has to have an element of speed to lead. Okay, and there's different ways to do speed to lead. I'm going to give you guys just a real quick hit list here, and I do other challenges on this, but we have a technology called call bridge that's built into Conversion IQ. So the second that the lead comes in, it calls the lead, and then it calls the agent. So if you guys don't know the stats on it, if you wait 5 minutes or longer to follow up with that lead, you have a 50% chance of never getting hold of them. Unless you have really, really good follow-up systems in place, which I'm going to talk to you how to increase those odds. But on average, those are the statistics. The chances of getting a hold of them drop dramatically. Why? Well, they walked away from the computer and they're not thinking about it anymore. Right? So you have to have really good speed to lead in place. So the next wave is an email, a text, and a ringless voicemail that goes out. So we have a program. It's a 10 by 10 program. It's automated and installed into Conversion IQ, which is an application within REN360. You just turn it on and go. But they'll get 10 touches over 10 days through multiple channels of communication: an email, a text, a ringless voicemail, and you can even do a postcard if you want to. So that's the key, Justin, is the first layer of defense is the automation. There's the rule we operate is, and we refuse to generate a lead. We refuse to generate a lead without a follow-up funnel attached to it.
I love that.
I'm going to say it again. We refuse to generate a lead without a follow-up funnel attached to the lead, because we know I might as well be taking my money and donating to charity instead. So that's why we built the program that we built, because of the pain we've went through, and so just make that decision for yourself, is that you refuse to generate a lead or have a lead go into a capture page or whatever you're doing without having a follow-up funnel attached to it. And so there's a lot of great software out there, right? I couldn't find what I wanted, and that's why we built our own. But there's a lot of great software out there that does those things. So I hope I answered your question there. I can go another layer deeper, which I'm going to just in a quick second. Then from there, if you don't have an inside sales agent, or if you don't have an agent on your team following up, you are the inside sales agent. You have to be responsible for that role. You have to be responsible for the follow-up. What that means is, once your automation's going, you're going to have people interacting, you're going to have people responding. It's your responsibility as the rainmaker to log in and follow up through multiple channels. So that's the other thing your CRM needs to do. It needs to allow you to make a phone call. It needs to allow you to send a text message. It needs to allow you to send a video email. It needs to allow you to drop a ringless voicemail, one-to-one communication without having to leave the damn system. Because you're not going to do it if you have to log into 3 systems to do it. You're not going to follow up with multiple channels of communication if you got to leave the system to do it. You're just not going to do it. Let's be real. Most of us aren't, right? If you're anything like me, you're not going to do it. Unless it's super easy, right, to hit the different channels. So we found on our team, Chrissy Young was our first case study. She follows up with every lead through at least 3 different communications, and that's one contact. And she gets her response rate has doubled since she just stopped making just a phone call. I forget the company that did it, but 90%, or they did this research, but they said that they researched that 80% of people don't pick up their phone if they don't recognize the number. So if we're sitting here thinking we're going to get great results following up by just making a phone call, or we're training our team that they're going to get great results by just making a phone call, okay, we're setting ourselves up for failure because we don't know the industry trends. See how it goes back to what the trends are? See, I got to know the data. I got to know the trends so I can build systems around the trends. So I could keep going, but did I give you guys enough answer? Justin, did I answer your question?
Absolutely. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
So that costs money, right? You got to put the systems in place. You got to put the automation in place. You might have to, but here's what I'll share with you. I would rather have you generate less leads and put more money into the follow-up of the leads, right? Knowing that you're going to get a better result than spending all of your money on lead generation. That's why I have this. So your challenge, part of this challenge, which we're going to get to, is going to make sure, challenge yourself to never generate a lead without having a follow-up funnel attached to it. How many people think that's a worthy commitment? Drop yes in the chat if that makes sense, right? It's a worthy commitment, right? So, so then we talked about what we should be tracking. Like, okay, so usually if you generate 100 to 150 leads through Facebook or Google PPC, if you're using our tool, you can use AdBoost to do that. There's other tools to use. But that's a decent benchmark for the $1,000. Some markets might be higher, some markets might be lower, just trying to give you a gauge. And then if you're doing your follow-up correctly, okay, in the systems, you have the system in place, you should be able to get to the point where you're having about 20 to 40 conversations. And then out of those 20 to 40 conversations, you should get 7 to 10 appointments. And out of those appointments, you should be able to get 5 to 7 presentations. 1 to 3 of those should close into a contract. And this is where I come down to this number. Over the course of a year, I look to spend 20 to 30 grand in total expenses and get 120 back. And if I'm not, that means something's not happening right with my KPIs and I just need to fix it. Here's the greatest thing. Once you know the key performance indicators, it's not rocket science, right? You just got to do what you got to do to fix it. So here's a pro tip for you. Ready? Any problem you have in your business in any area is because of 3 key things. It's either the tools that you're using not working right, or not having them optimized, or not having them, aka CRM and marketing automation. Those are technology. Not using technology to the fullest. That's number 1. Number 2 is you don't have the right people to help you, and or you might not have the skill sets. And then the last thing is the process, meaning you don't have a standard process that is of industry that meets a standard process to follow that will lead you to success. So if I look at any key area of my business, I can pinpoint and solve the problem really quickly just by looking at those 3 things. Okay. Who wants to do a quick exercise and willing to volunteer about a problem that you're having right now that you'd love to solve in your business and help you take yourself to the next level? If I can ask you some questions, we'll do a fun exercise here today.
I will.
Okay, awesome. Justin, what's something that you really think would be a mover in your business that you're just struggling with?
Well, so I've gone kind of backwards. Not backwards, but we're all trying to get back to the basics, right? So I've been cold calling, and not just cold calling. I'm cold calling, but I'm also kind of a warm call. Like I've got some marketing going on Facebook that they're raising their hand and saying they're interested.
Sure.
And I'm focusing primarily on buyers just because 65% of buyers have a house to sell. so I'm told.
Yep.
um, anyway, I'm having a hard time. Like, I guess I'm getting a hold of people, but these
Yep.
are going to be higher funnel people or
Yep.
leads, and I'm looking for more bottom funnel people.
Sure. Absolutely. So the struggle is trying to find the people that are ready to go now versus the ones that need to be nurtured. That's the struggle, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. So here's what I'm going to do then is I'm going to break this down. I'm going to look at the tools, the people, and the process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, does anybody know how many people are going to be ready to go now with those type of leads? How many people are actually ready to buy within 3 months or sell within 3 months from when the lead comes in? Anybody have any idea?
And you're just talking about on Facebook, correct?
Yeah, Facebook leads. Yeah.
I'm going to say 6 months.
Yeah, most less somewhere between 5 to 10% of all the leads that Justin's going to generate are going to be ready to go within 3 months. The rest of them are going to be long-term nurtures.
Okay.
So the struggle that Justin's going to run into is making sure that he's got a really good long-term nurture program, because he's going to make the majority of his money on those leads around 6 months to 8 months. So with that framework now we have to put in the tools, the process, and the people to make sure that he can both capture what he needs to capture short term from his leads that he's generating, try to catch that low hanging fruit, and follow up with the majority of people that are going to be actually doing business later, right? Does that framework make sense to people? Right? So how do you do this? Well, the first thing I would do is Justin, on a piece of paper, okay?
Yeah.
What I would do is look at, just say tools, process, people, right? 3 columns.
Yep.
Right? First thing you got to do is check off the tools problem. What tools do you need to put in place to make sure you're getting the speed to lead going and have long-term nurture? Right? What tools you need to put in place? And then what process you have to put in place? Well, you need a 10 by 10 or your own version of a drip campaign, so you outline the process you have to put in place, the content, the sequence, right? So scripts and dialogues, make sure you have really good scripts and dialogues, right? Make sure you're working on your skill sets within those scripts and dialogues. So outlining your process, all the process things. And then the last one, people, right, is attitude, activities, and skills. So if there's with the people, are the activities there? Or how's the mindset? How's the activity, and how's the skill set? And so, Justin, I just gave you $1 million framework to solve massive problems in your business. Okay, and a lot of you might just be like half listening to this, but I promise you that the framework I'm giving you will help you solve 6-figure problems.
Are you talking about the people's attitude, or
the whole framework? The whole framework of tools, process, and people. Because here's the thing, I can have great people that have awesome intentions, that have a great mindset, but if they don't have the skill set, because they don't have a good process to follow, so they'll never learn the skill set, doesn't matter, right?
okay.
Did that answer your question, Karen? So it's all 3 of them coming together.
Well, but it's the people that you want to have the attitude that, yes, I'm ready to do this, and then the skill set and activity to go forward with listing their house or getting it ready to list. Or is that what you're talking about?
What I mean is like, in order to even get to that place, an agent or an inside sales agent has to have the skill set to find and have the skill set to get those people.
Okay, so you're talking about the agent having the skill set to get
Correct.
to the people. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I'm glad you asked for clarification. So what I'm looking at is things that I can control in this framework, right? So I can control the tools I use. I can control the process that I put in place, and I can control my attitude, my activities, and my skill set. I can also influence that with my team.
So from that framework, Karen, hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. Jerry, do you have a question or a thought? You good? Okay. So Justin, in this exercise, what do you need to, what projects do you need to create, or what action steps do you need to create that you just identified, giving what you're trying to accomplish with your leads?
Well, I've known this is the speed to lead.
Yeah.
Because these leads are coming in at all different times, right? And I don't want to be the guy that's like dropping everything at the. I don't want to be reactive. I want to be proactive, right? So I want to put some kind of an AI tool in place that can, I love that you're like, what did you say you have? You're like, I don't know. You have an email, a text, a ringless voicemail within the first 5 minutes. That right there is huge. So
Yeah,
I can capture that lead. I can then identify what their need is. Like, how soon do they? And it was like, hey, and if they need me to call them right away, there's something that says, hey, I need to talk to you right now. And then it triggers me to go, you know what? I've got to take this phone call. It's like, but that right there is huge. Again, this is me doing this. I'm trying to do this on my own.
So here's I'm just gonna be straight up, if that's okay with you, Justin. If I could just have a little coaching moment, is that all right?
Absolutely.
You know that you know the problem, you know what you got to do, and now it's on you, right? To take massive action and to do whatever it takes to solve that problem, because your financial milestone or whatever your financial goals are on the other side of that problem. Yep. Does that make sense? So
yeah, 100%.
Here's a little pro tip. Refuse to live with problems, because as an entrepreneur, refuse to live with them. Refuse. Because I know that my financial goals are on the other side of me overcoming problems. Really, if I'm a great entrepreneur, I'm a really good problem solver, right? And I'm really good at taking massive action to fix, once I've identified them, to actually not refuse to live with those problems. Because what's the definition of doing something over and over again and expecting a different result? I think that's insanity, right?
Insanity, yeah.
Right? And we've all heard that before, right? It's kind of a funny thing, but I don't, that's kind of how I think about it. It's like, I refuse to live with this problem. Once I identify, I refuse. I'm done. I'm not living with this problem anymore. So I hope you found this helpful, Justin. It was a little exercise. Did you guys find that helpful? That framework? Can we see how that framework could work for you? Okay. We take a deeper dive into this in our Growth CEO community. We have a ton of conversations around this on our Friday mastermind calls. But I just wanted to give you kind of like a surface level coaching session of how we do this and help people have breakthroughs in different areas of their business. I'll share this with you. Motivation only gets you so far. Motivation only gets you so far. People think that they're not motivated enough. Here's the problem. They just have so much friction that they can't get it done. There's nothing to do with motivation. It has to do with friction, right? There's so much friction, right? And so it becomes harder, right? I'm a very motivated, people think I'm a very motivated person. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but I'm really good at removing friction from my business and friction from my life, so it's easier for me to do. That's really the secret. It's the same reason why I go to the gym 5 minutes away instead of the one that's my favorite gym 20 minutes away, because I'm not going to go to the one 20 minutes away. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, I can pump myself up and listen to 100 Tony Robbins tapes, right? But I'm not going to go to the gym as consistently as if I do 5 minutes, because I've realized that for me personally, I have to find ways to remove the friction, or else I'm not going to do it. So what's my point is you have friction in your business, and as you solve problems, you remove that friction, and now you become more motivated to do it because it becomes easier to do. How many people would be more likely to actually
log into your CRM if you logged in and you saw a whole bunch of positive responses in there instead of trying to figure out what you're going to call next. You get what I'm saying? That's a point of friction. So I could go on, and we're getting a whole bunch of pro tips. We haven't even gotten to today's training yet, by the way. So, but I hope we're getting a ton of value. I'm actually
that was tremendous, man. I really appreciate it. That's made me feel better already. I'm so glad I was on this call.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to quickly fly through today what we wanted to cover, and we'll open it up for Q&A. Okay, does that sound good, everybody? All right, so once we, and for those of you that weren't here, just go back and watch the recordings. You can get the recordings for $7 along with the workbooks and everything that I have here. You can get that if you haven't yet. My team will drop that in the link. But yesterday we talked about defining your target audience. A lot of people said that was helpful for them to think through because they hadn't thought through that in a while. It was a good frame of reference. Challenge yourself on how good your actually offer is to your target audience. What are their pain points? What are their problems? What materials can you give them? We came up with a funnel structure. It's a 4-step structure that we build the funnel through and out of. I gave you some examples, some links, which are in the workbook. And then we talked about how to optimize the conversion of the pages. And then we talked about setting up automated email confirmation for the appointments. And now we're at driving traffic to the funnel. And just so you guys know, we actually have a whole section on follow-up still that we're going to get to hopefully tomorrow. But driving traffic. So the action step for you guys today is think of all the ways once your funnel's built to drive traffic to it. So let me just pull up an example of what I mean. Okay. And I'll share with you all the ways that I drive traffic to my funnel. Does that sound good to you guys? Okay. So this is my agent attraction funnel. So if you're a broker or team leader, you 100% need an agent attraction appointment booking funnel. It should not be an option for you if you're in agent attraction. Okay. So let me see, we just changed the domain, so I just want to get it right. Okay, hold on a second. So let me share with you all the ways that I drive traffic to my funnel. So one of the ways that we drive traffic to our funnel is we have a private mastermind group that we run for free. And at the end of it, the last 5 to 10 minutes, we share this page where they can book an appointment. Confidential consultation to check out the benefits of working with us. Another way that I drive traffic to the funnel is through paid ads. Another way that I drive traffic, if I'm going too quick, let me know. But another way I drive traffic to the funnel is through a newsletter. Social media posting. And I haven't done SEO with this funnel yet, but those are the primary ways I drive traffic. And I just have a consistent marketing plan where I'm doing those things. So for an example, I do a mastermind call, a free mastermind call for the Renegade group where people come join it. And then we ask people if they want to set up a time to come take a look at checking us out once I've given them value, and I have them book an appointment there. We do a newsletter that adds value. The funnel is built into the newsletter. So the link to the funnel is built into the newsletter. When I post and I give value on my social media posts, the link will be there. When I do paid ads, the link will be there. Okay. So how many people would like a really detailed checklist on all of these things to actually drive traffic to the funnel? Meaning like a social media checklist, a paid ad checklist, and actually how to do these things, like a detailed checklist. Okay.
If you get the 87, if you get the $87 master track class, all of those checklists are in there. So my team will show you how to access the 7, the 27, the 87. The $7 is just the regular is the regular to get access to this PowerPoint. But if you want access to like the master class and the checklist, then you're going to want to do the 87. So you just check that out. Okay. So I know that this was really quick training on driving traffic because of the time, but I know you guys probably have a lot of questions about driving traffic. I can get you those checklists through if you get the master class, but I want to answer your questions about driving traffic to your funnel. How many people have a newsletter now? How many people actually see value in a newsletter? Drop yes in the chat like you see value in it. What's stopping you from doing a newsletter?
I've been trying to do a newsletter for the past 3 months. And I'm sorry I'm in the car, so it's a little weird. But I want it to be perfect, so I haven't done it.
Awesome. Valerie, I appreciate you.
I don't know. Like, I want to know what people want me to tell them.
Yeah.
I'm overthinking it, and I do that with everything, and then I do nothing.
I appreciate you saying that out loud. How many other people are guilty of that?
Perfection is the enemy of the good. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. How do, if we know we should be doing a newsletter, so here, let's break this down. Okay. Let's use the system and framework that I shared with everybody. Okay. What tools do you need to do a good newsletter? So let's first identify that. Drop those in the chat. What tools do you need to do a good newsletter?
You do it on Canva?
Yeah, Canva's a great tool, right? For newsletter. Absolutely.
You probably need a website more than anything else as well. You want to point them to the link.
Yeah, you want to have, if it's not a funnel, you want to have some sort of link in the newsletter to drive them to, right? So you want to have a sort of call to action, a landing page at least, or a spot on your website you're going to drive them to that's related to the newsletter.
You need current news on the market. You need current news and local.
Yeah, so good sales copy, right? So good sales copy. But that's not that'd be more of like, that could fall into a process of developing good sales copy, but let's just put it underneath tools for now.
You need a place to send it.
Yeah, so
a database.
Yeah, you gotta have your database organized, right? You need a good CRM.
And you have to know, you have to be able to track it. You have to be able to see if people are opening it.
Yep. Yeah. Who agrees that's a pretty good? Who agrees that's a pretty good list? Who agrees that's a pretty good list of tools?
Does it have to be all business? Can it be like something personal too?
We're going to get that in a second. That's a great question. That leads to our process, right? We need to have an outline or a process on developing a good newsletter. Would we all agree?
Yes.
So before I do anything, I make sure that I have the best practices on what it takes to develop a good newsletter. Here's the great thing. You can go to REN Assistant, REN AI Assistant, do that, or you can go to Google Bard or ChatGPT and you can ask it, hey, give me a checklist or an outline of what a good newsletter is for a real estate trying to target an audience of boom. And then what it'll do is it'll give you an outline on what should be in that newsletter. Another thing is look at your competition. Here's what I want you guys to do. If you're trying to do a good newsletter, go sign up to your competition's newsletters. And look at what they're doing so you can get a framework on what's working for them.
but make sure it's a top producer or somebody that you look up to and not somebody that's just getting going. Right? Somebody that you like might be notorious for newsletter.
Well, I have an agent in my competitive market that sends me her newsletters once a month.
There you go.
It comes by email. So I just can't figure out how she does that.
How she actually does the newsletter?
Well, I don't know who does her newsletter, but I get her newsletter in my email consistently every month.
Okay.
And I don't know how to figure out how to do that.
You might want to check with depending of the Chamber of Commerce or whatever the case may be. My business is a little different. I don't do real estate. I'm in the MSP and technology field. And for us to get small businesses, if we find out it was a small business, they may get your information that way.
Yeah. Well, you probably opted into it at some point, Valerie, or what she's doing is she took all the agents from the MLS, which you're allowed to do, and she just sends it to them. So you somehow got into her database.
Well, I let her know that I was an agent, and I said, I just want to let you know your newsletter's coming to me. So she said, oh, well, thank you for telling me. I won't send it to you anymore, but I still get it. So,
yeah, she probably just forgot.
I mean, but the point is that my why I'm perplexed is that I would like to do that, and I don't know how to find out how to do that.
Most CRMs will have a newsletter capability to them, or you can just use like MailChimp. Is a really good newsletter tool. There's one called Beehive. If you want to get into AI, it's a really great newsletter tool called Beehive.
Beehive.
Game changer. Game changer.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna look at my checklist here. User friendly, update, scalable, some process. So I want to know. Does anyone know the KPIs of a newsletter? Like what a good performing newsletter is, right? So a good performing newsletter, if you get a 15% open rate, you're good. If you get up to a 30% open rate, you're great. Okay. We're going to use ChatGTP to frame out our newsletter, or if you're with REN360, you can use the Run AI assistant. Right. My attitude and activity and my skills. So let's break this down. Unless we actually send a newsletter, how do we know if it's going to be good or not?
We don't.
Yes, you don't.
Here's what I'll share with you. There's no such thing as done when it comes to marketing. And there's no such thing as perfect when it comes to marketing, sales, or anything having to do with business. It's a false belief we've been taught, and that we've adopted. The true mark of what's successful and not is what the public tells us, not our personal preferences. I want you to write that down. The true mark of what's successful or not is what the KPIs say, not our personal preferences. I'll share with you, I built some really ugly, plain funnels that were so simple that I was not proud of, but we were in a hurry and we had to get it done because we had a deadline, and we launched the funnel, and it was the best performing funnel that we ever did. Right? And so that doesn't happen every time, but what I'm sharing with you, I would, if I would have went on my personal preference, right, instead of just following a proven process and just sending it, I'm never going to get the feedback on how to make it better. So how I actually reach perfection is by the opposite. It's by doing first and then getting feedback and adjusting, not thinking it's going to be good up front. It'll never be good up front without actually sending it out. Now, if I model somebody, it's more likely to be good. That's why I always model somebody before I always look at my competition and model before I do it. Okay. So here's was that helpful for everybody? Right. So if you want to do a newsletter, now here's the thing. It's the same thing for any other thing that you want to do to drive traffic. You just follow the same steps as you say, okay, what tools do I need to do for paid traffic, or like to do paid ads? What tools do I need? Research those tools. Okay. Make sure I have industry standards on what successful ads are, right? Put a process in place, and then making sure that I have the right attitude, the right activities, and the right skill sets, right, to actually do the thing. Now, the cool thing is that I'm just a little self-promotion right now. The cool thing is when it comes to growth, if you're part of the Growth CO group, anything that you want to do, I've already got all of the checklists done for you. So who wants to see my list of checklists really quick so you can see like what this looks like, okay? So let me just log in real quick. All right, so when you get access to your Growth CO membership, there's a resource section, and everything is in checklist format. The reason why I do this is because if it's not simple for me to figure out how to execute on, I don't do it. If there's too much friction there, I just won't do it. How many else is like that? Or if there's too much friction in the execution, you're just not going to do it. So I realized that. And so what we do is we actually have a checklist for everything. So for an example, a checklist that we just did today, that we just put in the marketing toolkit, is the Google LSA checklist. So I'll take you to that. I don't think it's uploaded here yet. Let's see. Oh, here's one. So I want to do Facebook ads. Here's a checklist for doing Facebook ads. How many people want to actually get ranked high on Google or do Google local service ads? It's something that someday you'd like to do, right? As an example. Well, this one's not on the resource page, so I'm going to put it on there. Or I'm going to I just finished it. So we have a checklist for it. So literally, it walks you through every step on what you need to do. So one of the main benefits of being part of the Growth CO community is I have a master checklist, and I'll just show you the master checklist that we build everything off of so you can see it. So you literally never have to be stuck figuring out what you're going to do. We have checklists for every single topic that you can think of. Who agrees that's pretty powerful? You get a lot done if you just had a checklist for every single thing you needed to figure out in every area of your business. Drop yes in the chat if you think you get a lot done, right? If you could just take the checklist and go do, or hire somebody to do it, right? So with that, we're running out of time for today. I know that this was a little bit off today, but did we still get a lot of value today? I know we went into the follow-up funnel more than driving traffic. I might kind of catch up on the traffic more tomorrow. But let's true to form. What are you thinking? What are your takeaways, right, from today's training?
Well, one of the things that really struck me was the manner in which you follow up. So, for example, I'm getting Z-buyer leads. I call these people right away. I'm on the call bridge. And they say they never made any inquiry. They have no idea why I'm calling them. And this happens a lot. So then I give up. I'm saying, well, maybe the system doesn't work. That's the first thing that comes into my head. Well, maybe I have to do the video text. I have to do the text. I have to do the email. Maybe I have to try different ways to continually follow up. Based on what you said earlier, you just don't make a phone call. But the results of the phone call discouraged me and made me second guess the system.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That happened to me quite a bit. And then I said, well, somebody went, because there's 3 or 4 places that information has to be entered. Could it be a partner of yours? Could it be a kid, a friend who was just curious to maybe get the information to provide it to you? And then they start thinking, and a lot of times they say, oh yeah, you know?
I'll tell you how. That's great, Rita. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a great strategy. Another strategy is you just don't feed into it too much. You just move on. Say, oh, okay, well, I have your information here. I have you on the phone anyway. Would you be open to a cash offer or potentially selling your house for the right price, or for top dollar if you got an offer in the next 3 to 6 months? And then you start your dialogue. I love Rita's approach too, by the way. That's a really great approach. So you just, what happens with that is if you get caught up in the things that don't matter, then they start mattering.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'd love to hear feedback from other people. Thank you, Valerie. Great feedback.
I like the input in terms of the 3 touch points of follow up. Phone call, email, text. That actually is efficient. In ensuring that you hit all of the technological boundaries that you possibly can meet.
Awesome. Yeah, you're less is more sometimes. So instead of quantity of dials all the time, quality of follow-up.
Isaiah, I had a couple. I'm a quotes guy, so I love the refuse to live with problems. Motivation is not the problem; it's the friction and removing that. That's huge.
Yeah, that was good.
That's how I feel right now. Like today, I've been feeling that way a lot, and I'm just like super frustrated.
Right. And you're motivated. It's not that you're not motivated to, right. You're up, you're working, you're at your, like you're trying to make it happen. So it's a great example. Yeah.
Right. And then just the breakdown of, hey, what are your tools? What's your process? What are your systems? And if you lay it out in that way, people, attitude, whatever. I got the 10 by 10 drip or whatever, the campaign sequence, scripts, dialogues, your CRM, what are you doing here? And then go, if you break it down that way, just anytime you take a problem and then break it down, systematically or kind of, reverse engineer anything, it makes things,
Hell yeah,
that much easier.
Awesome. Folks, take a picture of this, please, if you haven't. This is a multi-million-dollar framework. It's one of the most powerful frameworks that I've ever encountered and altered and developed to fit my own. And I just want to encourage you guys to look back to this when you're trying to achieve anything that you're doing or trying to solve a problem. Is going to this framework, and it will help you create a plan on what you need to do and make sure that plan is the right plan.
Can I ask you a question about the application of these funnels? At this point, I have to say I still am not clear on what to do first.
Oh, if you want to build a funnel?
Yeah.
So what you do is you go through this checklist that I have here. I'm going through a checklist. It just kind of feels choppy because it's multiple days, but that checklist is actually framed out into a workbook. So you just get the workbook that will be in your email and just start literally going step 1, step 2, step 3, right through the workbook.
Now, but does it work if you don't have $1,000?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it if you're going to spend less than $500.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it. I would just wait. And I'm just being upfront with you.
But it's 500 and 500, right? It's 500 for the promote.
Well, it depends. Like if you already have a CRM and marketing automation in place, you're already paying for that, right? You get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
Or if you already have other text message campaigns going out, you might already be paying for that, and you might not have to factor that into your follow-up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anybody else have any feedback? What was your takeaways? Love it. Love it. Love it. Here's an example of the power of leading with technology and using AI as our thinking partner. If you haven't heard me say that before, write that down. You got to start using AI as your thinking partner for everything. So give me an example. Please give me an outline of what should be in my newsletter, as well as the tools, process, and people that I could put in place to help me with my newsletter. Let's see what it does. See if it likes my prompt. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to, I would read through this normally. I'm going quickly for you guys, but I'm going to take this and now I'm going to open up a Google Doc and I am going to create my own newsletter checklist. How long did that take me?
3 minutes.
Fast.
So maybe I didn't like this, I would probably try prompting this, but here's the thing. I have a framework, right, to go underneath, right? I'm using AI as my framework. So I'm looking at featured content, additional, articles, news and updates. Look, if that's all that was in if that was all that was in my newsletter, would that be good enough for the first one? Is just these 3 things?
Yes.
Heck yeah, right? Or these 4 things, right? And then a call to action to my funnel or to my landing page or to my website, whatever I have, contact information, and then giving my readers the ability to unsubscribe. Okay, great, done. Now here's the tools: email software, content creation, design and layout, proofreading and editing. So it's helping me think through the stuff. This might not be 100% like perfect checklist, but it's a pretty damn good one, and it's enough for me to actually get something done. Right? And I might ask, I might go back and say, what are, let's see, hold on, let me get back to you. Okay. What are KPIs I should be looking for with my newsletter? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take this. Oh man, this is good stuff. I already have this template done, but I'm just sharing with you the power of using AI as your thinking partner. So now I got conversion rates, unsubscribe rate, bounce rate, social shares, and feedback and responses. I think that's pretty good KPIs, right? So now I know what to measure against. Okay. What maybe it didn't give me my open rate, so I might go back and ask, what should the open rate be for a realtor sending it out to their database? wow, I don't feel like a dummy. I feel smart. I said 15 to 30%, right? So that's still trend, still in trend, which is good. So there you go. So anyway, that was what I wanted to leave you with, is that anything you want to accomplish, you can also use AI as your thinking partner to help you make sure that you have a format or a checklist or process in place. So the reason, so I won't do anything unless I have a process. So write that down. Final piece of advice is choose not to do anything before you have a proven process in place or something that you can work off of, because otherwise the odds of it being successful and you actually doing it are virtually zippo. Right? It's just the friction. There's too much friction. There's too much friction.
So begin with the end in mind is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. That's right. That's right.
Isaiah, I have a quick question. I'm sorry if I got my grandbaby, she might scream or whatever. But
That's okay. We love grandbabies, so that's okay. She can scream all she wants.
in building the system out, like I really want to focus on video, and I hear what you're saying about the newsletter. I had Outbound Engine doing a newsletter for me. I never read, well, I did look at the newsletter, it would give tips and things like that, and people were opening it, but I never got a deal from it. Like I did get a couple of referrals just from, because like quarterly they would call and ask for referrals for me. But
Yeah.
from the newsletter itself, it would just indicate like who's looking at it regularly or what have you.
This
So
is
my first
great.
question is, what's the frequency do you think that it should go out that will be effective? And then how to use it with video? Because I really want to go hard with the YouTube
Sure.
videos. I hear a lot of agents are having great success with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I
So
figure I'll use
first of all,
drive them.
absolutely. So first of all, it's really important to know the reason why you're doing what you're doing with your marketing too. So is the purpose of a newsletter to get deals off of it? What do you guys think?
I would say it's more about information and letting people know who you are.
Yeah, of course I want to get deals off of it, but the purpose of a newsletter is actually branding and positioning and adding value to people, right? And here's the thing, if I do that consistently over time, eventually I might get some deals off of it, but it's one form of marketing that stacked on a whole bunch of other things leads to success. Does that make sense to everybody? And so I made the mistake where I quit my newsletter one day. And it was really interesting because I got people actually saying, hey, how come I'm not getting your newsletter anymore? So I think I'm glad you asked that question about newsletter, and how you tie video into it is when you do your weekly video or your monthly video, you make sure that it's a link in your newsletter. So whenever I do a video, I make sure I market that video through multiple channels. Does that help, Michelle? Did that answer your question? As far as getting good at video?
It does, yes. Now, as far as, do you think it would be a good idea to include video in the newsletter?
Yes, 100%. 100%. We always have a video in our newsletter, or a link to a video.
Thank you. Yes, that this whole session was very helpful. All your sessions are really, they really are. We're changing mindset.
You're welcome.
Totally.
Yeah, staying top of mind, really. Yeah, absolutely. So Catherine, you're a Gross to member, right? I'm 99% sure that you're a Gross to member, right, Catherine? So you're gonna get all the 2024 updated checklists within like a couple weeks. I'm just finalizing the updated checklist for 2024. Okay, so with that said, we're closing out. Here's your action step for today is think of all of the ways that you can drive traffic to your funnel or your landing page or your website or whatever you're going to drive traffic to. So what are you going to drive traffic to? And think of all of the ways that you can commit, that you have the resources to actually follow through on. So like you might have like a wish list, right? But then, so write it all down. So first step is write all of the ways you can think of, but then highlight the ones that you know you can commit to, that you know that you'll do. Is that a good action step for everybody for today? Okay.
Hey,
So,
Isaiah,
yes. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Isaiah, before I got on the call late, and you mentioned a couple of checklists.
Yeah.
Did you send those out just through my regular email?
So there was there's a $7 packet that has the recordings, workbook checklist, and a PowerPoint that I'm training off of. You would have gotten that in your email if you purchased the $7 workbook. And it has the workbook checklist that we're talking.
Where do I purchase it?
If you go to the link in the chat, they just dropped it. If you open up your chat window.
Got it.
And if anyone's having trouble finding that and you purchased it, just go to rensupport.com, rensupport.com, and put in a ticket, and somebody will reach out to you to make sure you get what you need.
Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. Okay, so at this point, we are closing out. If you guys are interested in figuring out, if you want to learn more about the Growth CEO Mastermind Group, and the big three benefits of the Growth Mastermind Group are the resources, all the checklists that I just shared with you, the mini courses and online video courses that we've done, and also the social media coaching and the mastermind calls that we do. Those are kind of like the big three value propositions. And Matt Grumman, who is the program director, he's helped me build this program from the ground up, is going to give you more an in-depth overview. No obligation if you're not interested at all. The session is ended, and we'll see you tomorrow. And we're going to keep talking about how to build an appointment booking funnel. And once you built it, how to make sure you drive traffic to it and follow up with the leads. We're going to continue that conversation tomorrow. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay. So from there, Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you, sir. So you can take a 15-minute overview on Growth CEO and what it's about, and the special offer that we have for people that decide to join the Growth CEO program. We're taking 10 students on. It is by application only. We will make sure that if we don't think you're a good fit, we will make sure that it's that we're open with you on that. It is not for everybody, because you really got to have that mindset to want to be an entrepreneur, like want to really have that CEO mindset. Does that make sense to everybody? So if you're like, you got to really, really want to make that transformation and go after what it takes to be successful as a growth CEO. So that'll be part of the conversation that you'll have with the program director. I really appreciate your guys' time and attention. I hope you got a ton of value out of this challenge today, and I'll see everybody tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern Standard Time. We'll continue our conversation on developing a appointment booking funnel.